Every other pilot in Vietnam fought from a distance. Jets dropped bombs from 10,000 feet and never saw the impact. Artillery fired miles away at coordinates. Even B-52 crews high above just pressed a button and left. But the Cobra pilot, he flew 200 feet off the ground at 170 miles per hour and saw everything. Most pilots in Vietnam never really saw the damage they caused. Jet pilots dropped bombs from 10,000 feet and were gone before the dust even settled. Artillery crews fired at coordinates on a map. Even B-52 crews flying 30,000 feet above just pressed a button and turned back home. But Cobra pilots? Different world. They flew just 200 feet above the ground at around 170 miles per hour. Close enough to see faces. Close enough to see exactly what their weapons were doing. When they fired, they didn't guess. They watched it happen. And it didn't end with one pass. They pulled up, circled back, and did it again. Over and over. Then came the part that really stayed with them. After everything was over, commanders ordered them to fly even lower and count what was left. And this is where everything shifts. The AH-1 Cobra wasn't built to carry troops. It wasn't designed to rescue anyone. It had one job: kill. That was it. No compromise, no secondary role, just pure attack. The entire machine was built around destruction, and that changed how it felt to operate it. This wasn't support anymore. This was direct engagement. And when a machine is designed only for that purpose, it doesn't just change warfare, it changes the person sitting inside it. But none of this started with the Cobra. By 1965, U.S. strategy relied on the AH-1 Huey, air cavalry landing behind enemy lines. On paper, it worked. In reality, it failed fast. The Viet Cong and NVA waited for low, exposed landings and opened fire. Door gunners couldn't save them. Losses piled up quickly, and pilots started calling the Huey what it felt like: a flying coffin. So the Army tried to fix it. They took the Huey and loaded it with weapons: rockets, machine guns, even extra armor. These modified versions were called Hogs, and they were meant to escort troop carriers and clear landing zones before anyone touched the ground. Sounds good, right? Not really. Once you loaded a utility helicopter with that much firepower, it slowed down. A lot. Now it couldn't even keep up with the transports it was supposed to protect. It was wide, heavy, and easy to hit. And the side-mounted guns? That forced pilots to expose the entire helicopter just to fire. It wasn't a solution. It was a patch. And a bad one. At that point, it was obvious they didn't need to modify a helicopter. They needed a completely new one. And this is where things get serious. Bell Helicopter had already been working on something different. In September 1965, they flew the Model 209 prototype, and that short flight changed everything. Instead of starting from scratch, they kept what worked: the engine, rotor, and transmission from the Huey, all proven reliable parts, but everything else? Completely reimagined. The fuselage was insanely narrow, just 36 inches wide, a fraction of the Huey. From the front, it was a nightmare to hit. The cockpit was redesigned too. Gunner in the front, pilot slightly elevated behind. Both focused forward, both locked onto the target. And it was fast, around 220 miles per hour. Weapons were built right into the design. Stub wings carried rockets and gun pods. Under the nose, a chin-mounted turret followed wherever the gunner looked. Literally. He aimed just by turning his head. And the timeline? That's the crazy part. Less than 2 years from first flight to combat, by August 30th, 1967, the first Cobras arrived in Vietnam. Just 5 days later, they scored their first confirmed kill. No long testing phase, no waiting, it worked immediately. And just when you think this was a small experiment, it explodes. By 1972, there were over 1,000 Cobras operating across Vietnam, not scattered, everywhere. They logged more than 1 million flight hours in combat zones, constantly in the air, constantly hunting. And this wasn't a prototype anymore. It was a system, a presence you couldn't escape. But here's the thing. It wasn't the numbers that made the Cobra terrifying. It was how it fought, and what it felt like when it showed up overhead. And this is where it turns into something else entirely. They called it the Pink Team. One light scout helicopter, the Loach, and one Cobra above it. The Loach skimmed just 10 to 50 feet above ground, spotting tiny signs or baiting fire. The moment shots came, smoke marked the target. Above, the Cobra was already watching. It dropped instantly, no delay. From detection to destruction, everything happened in about 30 seconds. The pilot dropped the nose and went straight in. Rockets hit first, 2.75-inch FFARs tearing through with blast and fragmentation. Then the minigun opened up, 6,000 rounds per minute, a constant ripping sound. The Cobra pulled up, circled, and came back again. It didn't leave. It stayed, watching, waiting, hunting. It was hunting, and the enemy felt that. Soldiers on the ground learned quickly. If you fired at the Loach, the Cobra would come. So they stopped shooting. Think about that. Your survival instinct tells you to fight back. But here, pulling the trigger meant death. Not firing didn't save you either. You'd still get marked. It flipped everything. The Cobra didn't just attack positions, it controlled behavior. It turned fear into a weapon. But here's the part people don't talk about enough. Inside that cockpit, there was no distance, no detachment. Pilots saw everything, every rocket impact, every burst from the gun. Nothing was hidden. The gunner tracked targets visually, every round landing exactly where he looked. Randy Zahn described what that did to him. A normal teenager going in and coming out something completely different. Fear, hate, revenge, but also something else. Pity. And it never really left. This was eyeball-level combat. Close enough to see it all happen in real time. And once you've seen that, you don't just forget it. It changes you. And then it got worse. After every strike, pilots had to turn back, fly as low as 50 feet, and count bodies. No estimates. Progress wasn't land, it was numbers. Those numbers got inflated. Young pilots did the killing, then reported it like routine. That pressure didn't fade. It stayed. And this is where the war follows them home. Some pilots talked about their helicopters like they were people. One even named his aircraft Old 340, like it was something alive. But not everyone made it through, even after surviving combat. A fellow pilot known as Stockstill came back, and later took his own life, because the war didn't really end when they left Vietnam. It stayed with them, quiet, constant, and carried alone. During the 1972 Easter Offensive, the North Vietnamese rolled in Soviet T-54 tanks, something no one expected in that terrain. The Cobra wasn't built for that, but crews adapted. They went after tanks with rockets and 20mm cannons, hitting them again and again, trying to disable tracks or optics. In one case, a direct hit blew a turret clean off. After that, something changed. Tank crews started abandoning their vehicles the moment Cobras showed up. That's when they earned a new label. Instruments of salvation. But not everything was clear-cut. Dense jungle made it almost impossible to tell who was who, and under Free Fire Zone policies, anything moving could be treated as a target. The problem? Civilians dressed the same as enemy fighters. Some attacks were stopped just in time, others weren't. And those numbers, they were never really tracked the same way, because that side of the war didn't fit into clean reports. And the cost? It was heavy. Around 300 Cobras were destroyed during the war. 247 crew members killed. In just one operation, Lamson 719, 26 Cobras were lost, and 158 more damaged in only 8 weeks. This wasn't occasional loss, it was constant pressure, a system being pushed to its limit. Pilots didn't just fly the Cobra, they lived inside it. They named it, trusted it, depended on it. The machine wasn't separate anymore. It became part of who they were. And because of that, the killing, it never felt distant. It felt personal. And here's what makes it even bigger than Vietnam. The Cobra proved that attack helicopters worked. No debate after that. Every gunship that came later took something from it. The Apache, the Viper, even the Russian Havoc. They all followed the same blueprint. That narrow fuselage, the tandem cockpit, the chin-mounted turret, it all started here. It didn't just win battles, it changed how wars would be fought from that point forward. The Cobra didn't just rewrite warfare, it rewrote the men who flew it. They didn't fight from a distance, they saw everything, up close, again and again. Decades later, the war is still with them, not in history books, but in the sound of rotor blades they never stopped hearing.